tonight's meeting with an invocation by Mr. T.J. Smith and a pledge of allegiance by Ms. Michelle Blanchard.
Let us stand, bow our heads. Dear God, we come once again at bowed heads and humbled hearts just to say thank you for this blessed opportunity that you've afforded us again to assemble ourselves at this place that you've provided. We thank you for those who are here and those who desire to be and those who may be en route. And we pray, oh God, that everything that we say and do this evening will be pleasing in your eyesight as we give you and continue to give you the praise, the honor, and the glory for all that we say and do. We thank you for this parish, dear God. We thank you for the quality of life that we experience. And we pray, oh God, for those who are less fortunate than us in other communities, oh God, and that you would look in on them this evening, oh God, and have mercy on them. And we ask a special blessing this evening, Father God, for a former councilman of ours and the family of Mr. Floyd Glass, who served with all due diligence in the position that you assigned to his hand. And in the end, dear God, when we're through with all of this business on this side, we'll be so very careful to give you all the praise, all the honor, and all the glory. For it's in Jesus' name we ask it all. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Okay, we're going to begin our meeting. Roll call, please. We're going to begin it with a roll call.
Mr. Sharp. Here. Mr. Thompson. Here. Mr. Lorino. Mr. Toledano. Present. Mr. Tanner. Here. Mr. Groby. Here. Mr. Dean.
Here.
Mr. Canulet. Here. Mr. Belisario. Here. Ms. O'Brien. Here. Mr. Stefanczyk. Here. Mr. Bender. Ms. Blanchard. Present. Mr. Smith. Here. We have a quorum.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to begin the meeting with the presentations. Our first presentation is proclamation of St. Tammany Parish Government Employee of the Month. Ms. Brister? Ms. Campo.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I'm pleased to present this proclamation and for our Employee of the Month. And the Employee of the Month for St. Tammany Parish is Shannon Lloyd. Hey, Shannon. Shannon has been a long-time dedicated employee of St. Tammany Parish government for 22 years with the Department of Public Works, first as a temporary grass cutter and working his way up the Public Works ranks to group leader for the Folsom Barn. He's proving that hard work, dedication, and perseverance equals success. And whereas Shannon Lloyd is well respected by his superiors and his peers, has become a true leader and problem solver, and is an overall outstanding and exemplary employee. And whereas Shannon Lloyd has a positive can-do attitude and will go out of his way to make sure the job is done just right. And whereas Shannon Lloyd exemplifies dedication, integrity, and commitment in all he does for St. Tammany Parish. Now, therefore, I, Patricia P. Brister, as Parish President of St. Tammany Parish, do hereby recognize the hard work and accomplishments of Shannon Lloyd as Employee of the Month for St. Tammany Parish, March 2016, and encourage all employees of St. Tammany Parish to thank him for his contributions and commitments to St. Tammany Parish. And then the rest is eyewitness thereof, and it's signed by Pat Brister. Shannon. And obviously I'm not Pat Brister, but as the CAO, I have personally worked with Shannon, and he is a joy to work with. And he does exemplify what hard work and dedication can do, and that it does show to everyone, and we would just like to recognize it and have everyone else recognize it also. So here's your proclamation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, congratulations. Okay, our next presentation is a certificate of recognition to Dr., is it Liza or Lisa Leday, owner of Mandeville Animal Hospital? Ms. O'Brien? Did I mess up the name?
It's Liza.
Liza, okay.
Okay. Is Dr. Leday here?
Yes.
Recently, I had the privilege of attending a West St. Tammany Chamber Awards luncheon, and one more time, I was thrilled to see that we had experienced some great successes in District 10, and I wanted to recognize two women tonight who have done an outstanding job in their business, but also recognize them because of their public service that they do for the community. So let me tell you a little bit about Mandeville Animal Hospital, owned by Dr. Liza Leday. After opening in 2013, Mandeville Animal Hospital has quickly grown to become a well-respected clinic with over 1,500 four-legged patients. They are the only facility on the North Shore to offer a fully integrated approach, including not only routine health care, dental care, and surgery, but also, and I found this very interesting, Eastern practices such as acupuncture, herb, and essential oil therapies for pets. The clinic also believes in giving back and has developed relationships with several nonprofit rescue operations performing low-cost spay and neutering services. They also host several pet adoptions events throughout the year. Now, the animal hospital has been committed to positively impacting the community of Mandeville and the surrounding area since they opened their doors in November of 2013. Their greatest impact, of course, has been in Old Mandeville, where many clients have the convenience of walking to the hospital with their pets for their examinations or for boarding or grooming. Now, they are extremely active in the community and sponsor many events, including dog races, marathons, pet parades, Old Mandeville events. They treat service dogs for free or at cost. They partner with Vet Naturally and their program, Vet Naturally Cures, for retired working dogs. They have several interns from local high schools. They had a local brownie troop visit for the day. They do charity cases for cost, and the latest one was for a wounded veteran. They offer military and teacher discounts. She is also on the AMBA, which is the Old Mandeville Business Association Board, as the Vice President of Socials, and she helps with community events. And this is all for nonprofit stuff. She also works with the Jane Austen Library Festival, the Sip and Stroll, and of course they sponsor and donate to numerous local events and fundraisers. So you can see why I want to acknowledge somebody who does so much to help in the community. So our certificate, which I think is rather nice, says, the St. Tammany Parish government desires to recognize Dr. Liza Leday of Mandeville Animal Hospital for the 2015 recipient of Out the Gate Running Award, which is what she won at the Chamber, for her service, dedication, and positive impacts on the community. Her community involvement is greatly appreciated by the residents of St. Tammany Parish, including the four-legged ones. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's an honor to receive the certificate of recognition. I would like to thank the St. Tammany Parish Council, President Brister, and especially Maureen O'Brien for acknowledging Mandeville Animal Hospital for our public service efforts. We were one of two recipients for the St. Tammany West Chamber 2015 Out of the Gate Running Award. Mandeville Animal Hospital is a full-service veterinary hospital located in Old Mandeville. Our success over the last 2 years is directly related to our constant involvement in the community, our innovative practices, and incredible team members. We are grateful to be a part of such a charming and supportive community. We give back, as Maureen said, by assisting many rescue organizations locally and throughout the country even. We donate our time and services whenever possible and continuously participate in community events. Our dedicated team members have a unified vision to provide outstanding, compassionate care for our patients and clients. Thank you for your support of Mandeville Animal Hospital, and thank you.
Okay,
Well, we have one more.
we got one more. Presentation, certificate of recognition to Donna Playa, owner
Hiya.
of Das Schuler House Gift Shop.
Okay, Donna.
All right.
And like I said, I'm thrilled that District 10 was so well represented at the awards banquet. Let me tell you a little bit about Das Schuler House Gift Shop, which is owned by Donna Playa. The award that she received was from the St. Tammany West Chamber, and it was called Service with a Smile. This award was presented on behalf of the Chamber, Small Business Council, to the business that's known for their outstanding customer service. Now, she opened in 2008 and has made a huge contribution to the neighborhood and the community at large. They helped actually create what's called the annual Sip and Stroll, or a Sips of the Season stroll, where shoppers meander through the streets of Old Mandeville, taking in the Christmas delights of local shops and businesses. Now, in 4 short years, has grown from 144 people strolling to over 600 people strolling, and it's a sellout every single year. It's definitely brought exposure to and had tremendous economic impact on Mandeville businesses, especially in the old Mandeville area. Now, with just a total of 4 employees, the store really is known for exceptional customer service, presenting a special customer appreciation event every December and offering special ordering and special delivery throughout the year. Her owner says we try to do whatever we can to make our customers happy and to ensure that they shop local. Donna's community service focus has been primarily focused on historic Old Mandeville and certainly its economic development. And like many of the businesses in the area, she also donates to many local schools and local fundraisers. So again, I felt not only was it important to recognize them for the good job they're doing, but to say thank you for everything they do in the community. So our certificate reads, the St. Tammany Parish government desires to recognize Donna Playa of Das Schuler House Gift Shop, the 2015 recipient of the Service with a Smile Award for her dedication, service, and positive impact on the community. Her outstanding customer service is greatly appreciated by the residents of St. Tammany Parish. Congratulations.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen, for such a lovely introduction. Thank you to the Parish Council and to President Brister. It's such a privilege and an honor to be recognized by St. Tammany Parish and also to be formally recognized by the St. Tammany West Chamber of Commerce for being a business that provides service with a smile. There are many choices when you establish a business in a community. My first shop was in the city of New Orleans, where I was in uptown New Orleans for 2 years. Then we decided to, my husband and I decided to move to Virginia. When we came back to Louisiana, we decided there was no place else to live or to reopen my shop but in St. Tammany Parish. What a great place to be. St. Tammany people are so supportive of me as a businesswoman in this community and of my shop, Das Schuler House. I have loved being here for the past 8 years, and I feel so blessed to be here. In case you don't know what Das Schuler House is, I am a full-service gift shop with a year-round Christmas room. I am on Girard Street in historic Old Mandeville, but most people know me as the Little German Shop or the Christmas store. But Das Schuler House Gift Gallery and Christmas Boutique is so much more than a Christmas store. I want to thank all of you for having me here tonight. Please come visit me at my shop, Das Schuler House, and please come visit the other businesses in historic Old Mandeville. We promise to always give you service with a smile. And for having me here tonight, I'd like to present all of y'all, the council, with a little gift from my shop. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for recognizing me.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Maureen. Oh, let's put the paperwork in.
I think Mr. Groby would like to say something after the pictures.
Miss Donna.
Maureen?
Miss Donna. Yes. I've been in your shop in Christmas. My wife is a proud owner. So you have a beautiful shop, and she is a proud owner of some of the jewelry you sold. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next presentation is presentation of certificate of recognition to Mr. Nicholas Foster, Boy Scout Troop 348. Mr. Belisario.
Okay. Gina, would you come up, please? And Nicholas? Nicholas, would you stand over here? Thank you all. I met Nicholas several years ago through my wife through PTA because his mother and my wife have been PTA moms for a long period of time. I also got involved with him because he got involved in Sharing You at election, and he was a fantastic volunteer support for her. I'm going to start with his certificate of recognition to Nicholas Foster. He's a North Shore High student. The Parish Council desires to acknowledge the youth of this parish for the positive achievements and accomplishments, in particular those who choose to remain in school, participate in their religious convictions, are morally and community conscious, and actively pursue productive lifestyles. With the constant media exposure given to negative youth behavior, it is time we acknowledge the younger generation of this parish who are honest, law-abiding, and promoting positive attitudes. The Parish Council is proud to recognize a young man who has not been overcome by the negative peer pressure, one who knows that perseverance and commitment can be achievable goals. A young man who has been an active member of the Boy Scouts of America Troop 348, which is chartered to Aldersgate United Methodist Church in Slidell, and completed the requirements worthy of the rank of Eagle Scout. Nick has joined the Boy Scout Troop 348 in February of 2010 after earning his Cub Scout Arrow of Light Award. He has served in several leadership positions and was elected to the prestigious Order of the Arrow. Nick has earned 25 merit badges, camped over 30 nights, hiked over 45 miles, and attended a high-adventure camp, which was a BSA sea base in Key West. He has served over 81 hours of community service as a Boy Scout. His Eagle Scout project was completed with Keep Slidell Beautiful. He has had to lead members of his troop in planning, designing, raising money, purchasing materials, and constructed 2 family-sized picnic tables and 7 heavy-duty wooden trash receptacles that now reside in the city of Slidell Parks. The Parish Council recognizes Nicholas Foster for earning the rank of Eagle Scout with Boy Scout Troop 348. The certificate of recognition was unanimously approved by the Parish Council on March 3rd, 2016. Thank you all. Congratulations.
Good job.
Nicholas wants to speak for a moment.
I'd just like to thank Councilman Belisario for inviting me here today, and I'd also like to thank the council for the great award and the kind words. So thank you all.
And Nicholas, when you get a free second, we have a few properties that could use some of your handiwork, so we'll be contacting you.
Okay, very good. Our next presentation, proclamation declaring March 7th, 2016 is Realtor Appreciation Day by none other than Mr. Tanner, our councilman, realtor.
St. Tammany Parish Government Proclamation, whereas the New Orleans Metropolitan Association of Realtors, better known as No More, was established in 1915 and celebrated its 100th anniversary last year. And whereas No More consists of over 4,000 members in 10 parishes, including St. Tammany, and whereas No More serves to unite those engaged in the recognized branches of real estate profession for the purpose of exerting a beneficial influence upon the profession and related interests. And whereas realtors subscribe to a strict code of ethics and are expected to maintain a high level of knowledge of the process of buying and selling real estate. And whereas we recognize the dedication local realtors have to the New Orleans metropolitan area and contributions they have made to that area, including St. Tammany Parish. And whereas the event will honor the greater New Orleans realtors and serve to celebrate the commitment they have to develop people, fulfill their dreams of home ownership, and protecting private property rights. Whereas No More is holding its 4th annual Realtors Appreciation Day Monday, March the 17th, 2016. Now therefore, we, the Parish Council, and Pat Brister, Parish President of St. Tammany Parish, do hereby proclaim Realtor Appreciation Day, March 7th, 2016.
Thank you. I just wanted to tell the Parish Council thank you very much for doing this, and Parish President Brister, and we have a new member, Miss Maureen O'Brien. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tanner. Our next presentation is Honorable Judge Ray Childress to address council. How are you, sir?
Chairman Dean, other members of the council. Nicholas, before you leave, congratulations on your award. If we had more kids participating in scouting, it might not be necessary for me to come speak to you tonight about the Florida Parish Juvenile Detention Center. As we are all aware, the administration of criminal justice is of extreme importance to each of us and all the citizens of St. Tammany Parish. Approximately 20 years ago, some very forward-thinking citizens in St. Tammany, Washington, Livingston, Tangipahoa, and St. Helena got together and formed the strike that please, the Florida Parish Juvenile Detention Commission, and proposed and received a 3 mil property tax in order to fund that Florida Parish Juvenile Detention Center, which has been in operation since then. That 3 mil tax was renewed approximately 10 years ago and is up for renewal again today. I repeat, renewal. It is not a new tax. It will be on the ballot on April the 9th with a couple other tax renewals that are very important to the criminal justice administration here in St. Tammany Parish, that being the courthouse quarter-cent sales tax and the quarter-cent tax to help fund and run the jail. But I'm not here to talk about those. I'm here to talk about the Florida Parish Juvenile Detention Center. Even though it's a 3 mil tax for the last 4 years, it's been rolled back to 2.75 mils. It is extremely important that this be renewed, because without it, the funding available to continue the detention center would only last for approximately another year. The center is recognized as a national model, and we are very proud of the work that is done there. It has a capacity of 133 children. I say children, but it ranges in ages from 10 to 16, and I would point out that there's a bill in the legislature to now make all people that are 17 years old handled as juveniles, which would further increase the need to have the detention center continue to operate. The average capacity for 2015 was 60 beds per day. Unfortunately, I have to put these on to be able to read some of these other statistics. During 2015, there was a total of 748 youth that stayed at the detention center. The average length of stay was 33 days. It's really important because these children commit crimes that are, some of them commit violent crimes, which could include murder, attempted murder, rape, kidnapping, armed robbery. It's terrible to think, but we have children doing that. Property crimes such as burglary, arson, auto theft, criminal damage to property, nonviolent crimes such as simple battery, simple assault, firearm possession, and of course drug-related crimes, which unfortunately we see more and more of those. Also, if you have runaways or truants or curfew restrictions and such as that, they could also wind up there. The programming includes drug screening at intake, psychiatric services, anger management, substance abuse and trauma counseling, medical services, doctor, dentist, nurses on staff, 182 social skills taught daily throughout groups, school year-round, including summer, handled through the Tangipahoa school system, and a facility garden for restorative justice projects giving back to the local food pantries. If this does not pass, and if we do not continue to have the Florida Parish Juvenile Detention Center, we are going to have some serious problems in our area. There are no pre-adjudication facilities available throughout the state. We have one of the best in the state. If we don't have that and kids are arrested and they can't go to this facility, they'll either be given back to their parents, released to their parents who probably have had problems controlling them to begin with, such as major crime repeat offenders who we don't want on the street, and offenders who have offended against household members, which is problematic too. We would not have the FINS, Family in Need of Service program, to be handled effectively any longer. In cases of truancy and runaways and such, would probably not be handled properly. So I would point out the cost per day is rather high, but it's required through federal requirements to fund and operate a facility such as the Florida Parish Juvenile Detention Center. So I would appreciate it if you would give it your consideration. And as I said at the outset, it is extremely important to the administration of justice here in St. Tammany Parish and throughout the Florida parishes. I'd be glad to answer any questions if anyone has one.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if you would, I would at this time move this body government to open the agenda to consider a resolution relative to the renewal of a 3-meal property tax on the April 9th election ballot to be used for the continued operation of the Florida Parish Juvenile Center. If I could hopefully receive a motion to that effect.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Toledano, seconded by Mr. Thompson, to open the agenda for a vote on that resolution. Got a motion and a second. Mr. Belisario?
I just want to bring one other thing that I learned a week ago today. The Tangipahoa School Board supplies teachers to these students, so they're not sitting in this detention center playing games. They're going to classes. That's part of the process to try and remediate these young juveniles who have broken various and sundry crimes.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Open agenda, and then I'd like to make a comment, Mr. Dean.
Okay. All right, let's
Yeah,
vote with your lights,
I did
please,
move.
to open the agenda.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, Mr. Toledano, you want to carry on?
Yeah, thank you very much. Mr. Chairman and members of the audience, I've had a unique opportunity to visit this facility many times, not as a resident, but as a mentor.
It hasn't been around that long.
There is probably some question about that in the audience, I sense. But as a mentor through the Covington Rotary Club and other organizations, we have been on campus, worked for weeks at a time with those kids out there. I cannot tell you how impressed I have been by that organization and the people that are working out there and what they do for these kids. And the point to emphasize is this is a facility that is not a warehousing for kids that have gone awry, but it is much a rehabilitation facility as it is anything else. To me, what those people do out there for these kids and how in very short order sometimes they can turn their lives around, I cannot think of anything more important for our community from a quality of life standpoint. Certainly to have these kids move away from our general area and be housed in isolated facilities elsewhere, sometimes in an isolated facility as part of an adult campus, I think would be awful, and it would be very deleterious to the health and welfare of these kids in the community. For those reasons, I would urge us off to favorably consider this resolution. Thank you very much.
So you have a second on that, Mr. Thompson? Okay, any further discussion? Okay, we'll vote on the resolution.
Wait a minute. He has a resolution. Can he at least read the resolution?
I thought he did. Would you like to read it?
You want me a long time.
I'll happy to spread it across the record. Thank you
I
very
think
much.
he's asking for our support of the
Yeah.
thing, and that needs to be.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stefanski. The resolution reads as follows. Whereas Florida Parish Juvenile Detention Center houses juvenile offenders from St. Tammany Parish, and whereas the Florida Parish Juvenile Justice Commission has placed the renewal of a 3-mil property tax on the April 9th, 2016 election ballot, which will generate revenue for the continued operation of the juvenile center. I'll pause briefly and tell you that that millage is now reduced to 2.75 as the judge has declared. Whereas the renewal of the millage will assure the citizens of St. Tammany Parish that more juvenile defenders will continue to be held in the detention center, thus reducing reoccurrence of juvenile crimes. And whereas passage of the renewal will provide continued funding for the center, which is imperative for the continued safety of our residents and the continued operation of the criminal justice system of St. Tammany Parish. In consideration now therefore be resolved, the Parish of St. Tammany hereby resolves that the St. Tammany Parish Council requests the citizens of St. Tammany Parish to seriously consider the continued funding of the Florida Parish Juvenile Detention Center provided by the renewal of the tax. The Parish of St. Tammany further resolves that this resolution shall repeal and replace all resolutions in conflict therewith.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second and explanation of the resolution. Just my 2 cents worth as a mental health provider in the community. When you look at the cuts that Department of Health and Hospitals has experienced and will experience further, when you look at the closing of Southeast Louisiana Hospital over the last couple of years, I can remember back several years ago, we had probably 100 or so, 100 to 150 beds for children that probably would fit in this category, and there are 0 beds out there now. So you try to get a child into an inpatient facility who is having these kind of pretty severe conduct disorder problems, it's virtually impossible, certainly in this area. So when you hear that they're not only just housing them or detaining them, but they're also giving, group therapies and those kind of things, it's pretty impressive. So with that being said, anyone else? Okay, let's vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Judge. Okay, the next section of our meeting is the consent calendar. Any items not pulled from the consent calendar are automatically approved and hold by 1 vote. Items pulled from the consent calendar are discussed and voted upon individually. Let's see, what I do have is items to pull and ordinances for introduction. I have item, item number 13, ordinance calendar number 5552. And that's the only one under ordinances. Under resolutions, I have item number 3, resolution 4533. Item number 6, resolution 4536. And item number 8, 4538. Now I'll go to each one of the council members. Does anyone else have any items for the consent calendar to pull? Mr. Taladano, you got your light on? Is that just?
Only by accident.
All right. Okay. It's still on.
Still practicing, but I'm getting it better.
Somebody teach Mr. Taladano how to turn the light off. All right. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Why don't we go ahead and
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Okay. All right. Have a motion by Mr. Stefanski and seconded by who? Canulet, to approve the consent calendar.
Maybe we should ask if anybody from the audience has anything
All right.
to pull.
I liked it better when he was sick. I'm teasing. Anyone in the audience or with the administration like to pull any items from the consent agenda? Okay. It didn't look like. Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Please vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Okay, now we're going to take the first ordinance, ordinance number 5552, Ordinance to authorize the Parish of St. Tammany through the Office of Parish President to acquire 49.179 acres adjacent to the St. Tammany Regional Airport for obstruction removal. Ward 4, District 7. I have a speaker, Mr. Carlos. Please tell us who you are and where you live, please.
Carlo Hernandez, 2818 Mesa Court, Mandeville, unincorporated Mandeville. I have several questions. I understand this is the ordinance for introduction, and if the answers can't be given to me tonight, hopefully they'll be given to me before next month when this ordinance should come up for adoption. My first question is, and I just want to verify, is that the Poitevin family owns the 49 acres that we're getting ready to buy? That's my first question. The second question is there any local contribution that's necessary for the DOTD grant that's proposed to fund this acquisition? And normally with grants, there may be some local contribution, and that's the next question. And whether there's an estimate right now as to how much money we're going to spend acquiring these 49-plus acres, I believe, from the Poitevin family. And just let everyone know, this is adjacent to the airport off of Highway 36, and presumably to, I believe, remove trees that could be obstruction to airplanes. Thank you.
Okay. All right, it is an item for introduction. Does anyone want to answer that, or you want to get back with him, or how you want to work? Ms. Campo?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I can partially answer and get back to him on the rest of it. The funds at issue are safety funds that come through the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development through their airport program, which we have a participating agreement with, and which we have a 5-year capital plan with DOTD for our Abita Airport. These funds have been accumulated to clear, as Mr. Carlos stated, potential obstructions to the runway, and it is my understanding that at least part, if not all, of the tract that is being acquired is owned by the Poitevin interests, subject to a timber lease, I believe, but we will have to research that further and provide that information to him later.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Campo. Let's see. Next resolution. Okay, I need a motion to introduce this item.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I wanted to piggyback on that response to his questions and just ask Ms. Campbell one other question as it relates to his question. And maybe that's the one that she has to get back with him on. That was on the local participation piece. Were you able to address that?
Yes. Mr. Smith, I believe, if I may,
Sure.
Mr. Chair, I believe that on the safety funds, that portion does not require a match, that those are funds that we get on an annual basis through some type of formula, and that's, like I said, purely to address safety issues like lighting or obstructions and things like that. And I do not think it requires a match.
Okay. All right. Mr. Stefanczyk? Motion by Mr. Stefanczyk to introduce, second by Mr. Canulet. All right. Next item, resolution CS number 4533, resolution to authorize the parish president to obtain special counsel for personnel matters.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Tanner, second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion? We do have one. Mr. Franzo?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My question is actually directed to Mr. Hand, if that's okay, because you're legal advisory for the council. In your opinion, does the resolution conform to the Home Rule Charter? 4533?
Yes, it does.
Because it seems very vague in comparison to what the Home Rule Charter is saying, specific purposes and requirements. And when you read the resolution, it says that the parish president is to obtain special counsel for personal matters. And I think that's very disingenuous to the folks and what this is for. And again, do you believe it's conforming with the Home Rule Charter?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you do, okay. I guess that's an argument for another day. Do you also believe that the information that's put in that resolution is fair to the citizens as far as telling us really what it's about and what it's for?
Chairman,
Who said that? Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe this is a deposition.
Okay.
Okay, can I ask you another question? I think it's important to know, too, what is the dollar value been put on this? Is there a dollar value put on this contract for hiring of this attorney?
It's the AG rates. It's the hourly AG rates approved by the Louisiana
Right, but
Attorney
is there a
General's
time
office.
frame going along with this as well, or do we have a specific time? It's going to be for a year, 6 months, 2 years? What's the plan on it? Because the question is, it's going to cost money, and it's going to cost a lot of dollars over a period of
I
time.
object to the consideration of this.
All right.
Let me tell you what, I mean, I don't think you should be asking our attorney those questions. They should be going through you, but number two, anytime we get a contract with any legal firm, we specify an amount on that contract. We have not done that in the resolution, but it will be on the contract, a specific amount, and we never let them spend more than that. That's really the way we operate, and it's a little bit different than what you're
Yeah,
what you're
I'm just trying to
implying.
get clarity on it, and I just want to understand if it's a permanent position or it's a temporary position that you're looking to hire this individual.
No, we're not looking to hire anybody.
So it's going to be just as a...
It will meet our requirements of our charter, and it'll meet our requirements of what we have to do to make, you know, from a financial standpoint.
But I think the one question I really want to know is, what is the purpose, the real purpose, why we're going to
Chairman.
contract this attorney?
The 2 minutes is up.
To hire personnel matter.
Mr. Belisario?
Just one thing, Rick, I think you misspoke. You said personal versus personnel.
Personnel, that's what I meant,
Okay.
correct.
Just
I
want to clear
apologize
that
for
up, because the people hear that saying, why is Pat Brister
No,
hiring our personal
personnel
attorney?
matters.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And this will be revealed as it comes about.
But shouldn't it be revealed now, so people know what
It's-
you're going to be putting forth?
No.
Okay, we're going to entertain this, or we're going to go on?
No,
Go ahead.
absolutely not. This is a personnel. You don't go blab all your employees' bad habits or errors out in general, regular business.
Okay,
This is ridiculous.
all right.
It's a
It's
personnel
ridiculous
issue.
to know what we're spending money on?
Okay, okay, the question's been called. We have a motion by, who? Mr. Tanner, second by Mr. Thompson, to introduce. All right. All right. Oh, we did, okay. All right. Any further discussion? We need to vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay, our next resolution is Mr. Tanner, is 4536, a resolution to acknowledge the authority of the parish president to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Louisiana Community and Technical College System. Mr. Tanner, you got some?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Toledano, second by Mr. Lorino.
Question.
Yes, sir.
I know this is in District 12, I believe, as the agenda states, and I had a few questions that I would like to direct the staff, if it's okay with you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry.
I just have a few questions of clarification that I'd like to address the staff, if it's okay.
Go right ahead.
Sure. Number one, how much property are we talking about being demolition, cleared or removed? Number two, is it going to be demolished, or is it going to be removed? And it's going to be removed, where is it proposed to be moved to? Three, how much of the CDBG funds are we talking about using to complete this process? And number four, who will own the property at the end of this process?
Can you provide that information, or would you?
Sure, I can probably answer the majority of it and follow up with you tomorrow for the rest.
Sure.
This is a A complete demolition is with CDBG, Disaster Recovery Funds from Katrina, and this particular property did flood in Katrina, has been blighted. And so the activity is slum and blight for purposes of HUD CDBG funding. The approximate value of the demolition is $22,000. I believe, I'm sorry, 322, I can't see. The approximate value is $322,000 for the demolition. I believe that this building is approximately 100,000 square feet, but I'm going to have to get back with you on that.
Okay, Mr. Belisario.
Mr. Dan, I want to bring on, I believe the building we're talking about is the old Slido Technical, the Votech School. That is in dilapidated condition, it's got to be cleaned out, that's for sure.
Yes, Mr. Belisario is correct. It's been blighted and is in need of being demolished for some time, but because it's such a large structure and NTCC is constrained by their budgetary constraints, they've been unable to do it. So it's a eligible activity for these disaster funds.
Okay, do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Belisario, second by Mr. Canulet. Further discussion, Mr. Tanner?
I just want to know that I'm going to abstain.
Okay. All right. Forward your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous. I'm sorry, motion passes, 11 yeas, 1 abstention, 1 absent.
Okay. Our last item on the consent calendar is Resolution CS number 4538, resolution to amend Articles of Incorporation of Greater New Orleans Expressway Commission to eliminate the monthly stipend compensation for GNOEC pays to commissioners of the GNOEC. Mr. Lorino.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have that removed, please.
Okay. All right. Who seconded? Did you? Oh, okay. Second. Okay. How about a motion by Mr. Lorino to remove and seconded by Mr. Stefanczyk? Further discussion? Forward your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay, that's it for the consent calendar. We'll move on to appeals. Our only appeal tonight, Jessica Lacey appealing the zoning commission denial on January 5th, 2016 to reclassify 2.88 acres located at the northeast corner of North Park Boulevard and Park Place from HC2 to HC2A. It was postponed last month. Mr. Taladano. Hit your light.
All these electronic gadgets really get me confused, but I'm going to get better after a while.
Maybe we need some candles down
Mr.
there.
Lorino has graciously volunteered to coach me through some of the hurdles, but I'm going to get it eventually. This is a portion of property to the front of North Park, close in proximity to the fire station, but on a Park Place, which is an adjacent property. To the credit of the homeowners in North Park who have a strong interest in that development and seeing that it's done in a compatible way, and to the credit of the developer, we've been working through some issues. We think we've got it just about resolved, but tonight I'm going to ask you gentlemen and Ms. Blanchard to table this, and I believe by the next meeting we'll have it fully resolved. So my motion is to table, please.
All right. We have a
Postpone.
Postpone, thank you very much.
motion by Mr. Taladano to postpone. I'm assuming he's also asking Ms. O'Brien to. You said Ms. Blanchard.
It was an oversight, trust me.
She's only been there 4 years.
In the excitement of the moment, and I apologize.
Motion to postpone, and then we have a second by Mr. Lorino. Any further discussion? Forward your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
All right, good. Continue on to ordinances for adoption. We have our first one is ordinance calendar number 5516, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 57.4 acres from A2 to A4. That's Ward 3, District 2. Let me just remind folks, I'm sorry. All right. We discussed this at the consent agenda last month during the introduction, so we had probably about a 30 or so minute, if not longer, discussion about that. So we heard a lot of opinions. We have several people. We have Mr. Paul Marone, who wants to speak for the project. Keeping in mind what usually happens is that this goes before Zoning Commission, gets discussed, voted, and then if there's, usually what happens, 99.9% of the time, if there's objection to it, it gets appealed to us. This item didn't come up for an appeal. So it continued on. It was on the consent agenda last month, then got sent to us for this month for adoption. So it was discussed, Zoning Commission, and then ad nauseum last month, and then now we're up again. So we do have Mr. Marone who wants to speak for it. We have a gentleman, Mr. Kelly McHugh. Are you gonna speak separately with Paul, or? Okay. And then we have several who apparently want to speak against it. Each person who speaks is limited to 2 minutes. Please know, I mean, we have about 10 cards here. If you're gonna say the same thing, please save the time. If you continue to hear the same thing, then just kind of defer to 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 speakers, okay? So, all right, so, I'll tell you what. Should we do we have a motion? Yeah, yeah. Motion by Mr. Sharp to approve, second by Mr. Canulet. Now we have discussion. Mr. Marone. You have 2 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I would just reserve my time for rebuttal. We have no objection, obviously, to the passage of the ordinance, but the card is there to preserve my right to respond to any objections.
I got you. Okay. Thank you. Okay, the first person is Mr. Wayne, Hilli something. I can't read the. Hilliard, I'm sorry.
I believe I left a packet for each one of you in front of you, and there's a couple of handouts in there as well. So with that being said, we believe that St. Tammany Parish codes include purpose for promoting the health, safety, and general welfare of the parish, to lessen congestion, prevent overcrowding of land, avoid undue concentration of population. The community meeting proposed by Councilman Sharp last week not to make demands, but to listen with a level of cooperation. Councilman Sharp advised us through cooperation at the table is what make government work. We agree with him. We expressed valid concerns about flooding, drainage, and problems on Harrison Avenue safety issues. Flooding over the subdivision roads, property after 2 weeks worth of rain, 2 weeks ago with a heavy rain. Bicycles and other debris in the Abidi detention pond, inlet and outlets. DODT 2015 traffic count on Harrison Avenue. It has not been published yet, but it was 15,249 people per day on Harrison. Fire Station 125 made 368 calls traveling on Harrison October 25th, August 2015 through February 2016, 6 months. 40 school buses travel Harrison Avenue every weekday. Pedestrians and bicycles also travel on Harrison Avenue. Crime in densely zoned communities increases crime. Please reference the maps that I left in the packet. Tonight is the vote to accept or deny zoning recommendation ordinance. Mr. Marone stated that the density of 2.4 acres is less dense than the vast majority along Harrison Avenue. He also stated that south side of Harrison is much more dense than most everything along Harrison Avenue, which is A4 or more dense. His proposal is the least dense on Harrison, save one, Singing River. We don't agree.
Time, Mr. Chairman.
2 seconds. Refer to the map that I gave you. There are 10 A2 zoning areas, 4 A3 zoning areas, 3 A4 zoning areas, and 1 A4A. As residents, we ask the Honorable Council to return to Ms. Begay and Darling Homes in favor of return to A2 in line with north side of Harrison zoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard. Ms. Paula Schindler. If you would give us your name and your address, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Paula Schindler. I reside at 111 Big Pine Drive in Singing Rivers. Thank you for this opportunity. I am opposed to the reclassification of the A2 to A4 and the PUD overlay. My husband and I have been in Singing Rivers over 20 years. We love it here. We have had multiple flooding on our property. The Abita River backs up numerous times to the properties along Big Pine Drive and Arrowwood. The river cannot handle any more water. The diverting water that's going to be, in addition to what's already there, is going to be a major issue. They talked about retention ponds. The mosquito population is already an issue. Now we're digging more holes and breeding more mosquitoes. We got West Nile, an issue, and now a Zika virus that is going to be knocking on our doors. The last meeting, Mr. Sharp said, compromise. That's the way government works. The only thing that's going to be compromised, unfortunately, is our safety, our quality of life, our health, and we just appreciate y'all listening to us, and we strongly, hopefully, are asking y'all, please do not reclassify, please do not rezone, keep it at A2. We want Ms. Begay to be happy. We want everyone to, again, have a quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have Mr. Jeffrey Martin. Approach and tell us your name and your address, please.
Jeffrey Martin, 71051 Reed Lane. Thanks for the time tonight, y'all. As each of y'all should have been made aware, we've obtained 436 signatures on our petition against these two ordinances. I myself walked the neighborhood in obtaining some of them and further spoke with a lot of people in the parish about this issue. And I would review with them the zoning staff report and the various maps for this proposed development, and I did not have anyone refuse to sign this petition. Every single person I spoke to agreed, and with our protest to this zoning. Everyone agreed that Harrison Street, also called Dog Pound Road, is already badly overcrowded and dangerous, has no shoulders and steep ditches on both sides for most of its distance. It's almost impossible to cross this road during many times of the day. It was a gravel road not long ago, and for years was a no-truck route. It is a parish road, therefore it will get no state money or federal money. So any talk of significant improvements to this money, to this road, at any time in the near or probable long term is probably just that talk. As well, it has significant drainage issues. It's already been discussed. I haven't seen any detailed drainage maps, wetland delineation reports, environmental impact statements, and this is adjacent to a state-designated scenic river. Via the St. Tammany Unified Development Code, the purpose of A2 district zoning is to protect the character of the area through low density. Evidently, the problem with this development is one of scale. They only have 57.4 acres. There's undeveloped tracts to their east, to their north, to their west. They attempted to buy none of them. I know because I live to the west. I got no call. If they actually bought this undeveloped land, they would have plenty of room to develop this at A2, 1 house per acre, like the adjacent subdivisions, versus their current plan with as many as 9 houses per acre. This is a low-budget project that they thought they could just run right by, all of y'all.
Time,
The passage of this has the potential to devastate our property values, as well as larger lots, larger houses gives y'all more property tax. Thank you for your time.
Mr. David Schindler.
Good evening. I'm David Schindler. I live at 111 Big Pine Drive. I've been here for like 20 years. I'm very opposed to this reclassification from A2 to A4. It's in the PUD too. I don't agree with this. Harrison Road cannot handle another 200 plus more cars on that road. The road's falling apart now, and you're going to, with the way it's going right now, adding 138 homes, you're going to have over 200 cars going more on that road. And safety, with all this development, if you leave it at A2, we don't have as many homes, which is fine. Like we said, we're not against them selling the property and stuff. It's just the safety. The fire engines, cars, we have no room. If we keep adding more homes and all of this, these vehicles, this safety for vehicles, for emergency vehicles, cannot get through. I see it every day. We can't even get across a Dog Pound or Harrison as we can now. It's impossible sometimes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Claire Menden.
Hi, my name is Claire Minden. I live at 115 Ivy. And like a lot of my neighbors in Singing Rivers, I oppose this mainly because of the traffic and the density. I chose where I live because I did not want a house right up next to me. I did not want to be like the South Shore. So the density is a huge problem. But the traffic on Harrison, people use it. It's one of the main east and west arteries from 190 to 59, because else you have to go all the way to I-12, you got to go all the way to 21 or 36. Y'all need to consider traffic first before you approve a zoning. From what I've been told, y'all don't do that until after the zoning is approved. I think that is the wrong way to do things. Much of my other concerns have already been stated, so I'm not going to repeat them out of deference to what you requested. But I think this is the wrong thing to be doing at this area.
Thank you. Ms. Mary Kay Walden.
Good evening. Thank you. I am Mary Kay Walden. I live on 115 Big Pine Drive in Singing River Estates. I also am here to oppose opposition to the rezoning of Ms. Begay's property. My goal is to urge you to keep the property zoned at A2 as it is now. While I am not opposed to developing the property and building one home on each 1 acre lot, I am opposed to the rezoning of it to A4 and increasing the number of homes that will be built on each lot. Drainage and traffic problems already exist. We've talked about them. They're already great. They're going to become even greater. While drainage is an issue, I'm going to focus on the traffic as well. But I do want to note that I had 2 feet of standing water on my 2 acre lot for 1 week with Hurricane Isaac from the Yabita River backing up onto our property. The increased traffic alone will only add to an already huge problem. From January 1st of 2015 to 16, there were 33 crashes on Harrison Avenue. That is the second most of any road in the parish, with Brown Switch Road and Slidell having the most at 34. In addition, the fire department on Harrison has responded to 424 calls as of today, since it opened 7 months ago, and we do have the 42 buses that travel on it daily. Those are astounding numbers, and the proposed development will only have entrance and exit ways on Harrison. Increased traffic on that road as a result of even larger numbers of homes being built can't help but cause greater safety and health risks. God forbid that an emergency responder would not be able to get through in a timely manner. It is almost impossible to get through because of the ditches on both sides. It's already narrow, it's very congested, and it's a main throughway. What if that were your family member or loved one who could not be gotten to? If this is a personal issue. Minutes do make a difference, and they do save lives. So I am urging you to please consider the health and safety of the many who live on and travel Harrison Avenue by keeping Ms. Begay's property zoned A2. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we have Mickey Hogshead. Am I saying that correct? There we go.
I'm Mickey Hawkshead, and I live in Arrowwood subdivision on Sioux Drive. A lot has been said that is how I feel also. We've talked about the traffic and the ditches, and we've talked about the cars and so on. One thing that has never, two things maybe that have never been mentioned is Faulkner Road has been opened, and there's a lot of traffic now that uses that to go back and forth between Home Depot and Harrison Avenue. So there's additional traffic brought into the area and then people using it to move along. Another problem that I have experienced that hasn't been discussed is on a rainy day, because there is lack of lighting along Harrison Avenue. You have a car that has the lights on and it's showing on this wet street. You have the curve in there that you have to use, you know, as you go along Harrison, and it is difficult. I've experienced it a number of times as I've driven on there with lights on the wet road. So that is another problem that adds to the situation that we have on Harrison Avenue. Also, no extra lights on Faulkner. It is very dark in some of these places. So I think you all need to consider that in addition to the other issues that are definitely true that have been brought up already.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Mr. Glenn Schur.
Thank you. My name is Glenn Schur. My wife Lori and I live at 100 Marigold. We live on the corner of Marigold and Dog Pound on Harrison Avenue. We're directly across from Ingram Estates. We're right next to Arrowwood subdivision. In the last year, I've had at least 5 automobiles in my front yard from accidents. We have a fire station down there. I'm going to urge, I've spoke to Mr. Shaw, I'm going to urge the rest of the council members, if you can't do anything, postpone this till you get more information from the citizenship. On my way here, I went out with a video camera and I just videoed the intersection of my home, and there was a school bus, and the guy made a bad dash from the stop sign out on the Harrison Avenue because of the speed and the traffic condition. We have no way for enforcement. I'm an ex-police officer. I can tell you right now that there's not enough money in the budget to do enforcement there. That's not the answer. Certainly going from A2 to A4, putting more residents in there is going to be problematic. It's going to, when we got the news media out there, we got a school bus and children hurt or seriously hurt or killed, they're going to be coming to the council when you guys approve this. If you can't do anything else, please postpone this, talk amongst yourselves, open it for discussion with more members at another night. I'm urging you guys, do not put this through tonight. This is a bad, bad situation for the citizens. We moved over here to get away from tremendous amount of traffic and injuries and crime and flooding. And you guys I know we need taxes, we need police officers, we need things out here. This is a bad, bad situation. Please do not, I urge you not to vote this through.
Thank you, sir. Last one, Ms. Judy McCloskey.
My name is Judy McCluskey. I live at 112 Fern Drive in Singing River subdivision. I have some maps that will show how the water drains back to the Abita River. If someone could pass these out to the members, would you? My main concern with the subdivision is drainage. I don't know how familiar everyone here is with the drainage in that area, but I know Mr. Thompson from when he was our councilman. I'm sure he is aware of what the drainage situation is back there. We have 5 subdivisions along Harrison that drain to Harrison, and from Harrison it drains back to a natural drainage stream that hooks up into the Abita River. The proposed subdivision is on the edge of this natural stream, and I'm not quite sure from the maps I've seen of the new subdivision if it actually encroaches into this natural stream. With all of the water that comes and drains into that natural stream, any blockage of that drainage is going to back up into the subdivisions. They have the C Street drainage ditch that drains into that natural stream. They have the detention pond across from Singing Rivers that helps to alleviate water from Ingram Estates and from Tammany Hills. All of that drains under Harrison to this natural drainage stream. So I would much prefer to see a subdivision on that land than anything else, just like I think most of the people who live in the area. However, we need to make sure that our drainage is not impeded by this new subdivision. And also,
Ms. McCloskey, you need to wrap up, please.
Okay. If the subdivision is approved, then we need to be sure that there are 2 turn lanes or 1 at each entrance to the new subdivision. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else wish to speak? Mr. Morone, you want to speak?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know there's a number of...
Hang on just a second. I believe we ought, should we give a couple of more minutes since you are speaking for so many people?
Yeah, I believe there are a number of people who have signed up but have deferred their time to me.
Is 5 minutes okay?
It should be, yes.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. There are a number of concerns that have been raised through the 9 individuals that got up, but I think they can be characterized in 3 categories: density, drainage, and traffic. And I'll address each of those briefly, but let's start with what this project is. This project is 138 lots on 52.4 acres. It's 2.4 units per acre. It's got 31% green space. It protects the river. It avoids the wetlands and the floodplain. It has 50-foot no-cut buffers along Harrison and our east and west boundaries, and a much larger buffer on our north boundary by the river. And you can see that on the plan that I've provided to you. We are bringing off-site utilities to this area where they do not exist now, and we're providing the other amenities that you would expect to see with a PUD. So let's compare what we are proposing with what is out in the Harrison area right now with regards to density. And Mr. Hilliard was exactly right. I have taken the position, and I believe it is a correct position, that at 2.4 units per acre, our development is less dense than the vast majority of developed property along Harrison Avenue. And if you'll look at the zoning map that I've provided for you, all you need to do is first look across Harrison. You'll see A4A as far as the eye can see. That is Tammany Hills. Moving to the east, you'll see Ingram Estates. That's A4, more dense than we are. If you look across Ingram Estates, you'll see Arrowwood, A4, more dense than we are. If you look at the PUDs in the area, there are 3 PUDs consistent with what we are proposing. One to our north actually has multifamily. The other PUD in front of Ingram Estates, more dense than we are, and finally Emerald Estates, which is similar to what we are proposing. In addition to those developments along Harrison, you will also notice that there are apartment complexes at the corner of Fuchsia and Harrison, more dense than we are proposing. So I would respectfully submit to you that what we are proposing is by and large in line or less dense than the vast majority of the developed property in this area. Singing River, many of the opponents of this project live in Singing River. That's a very nice subdivision, but I would respectfully suggest to you that it is the anomaly. To suggest that we should develop Miss B. Gay's property as Singing River was developed is not consistent with what the majority of the developed property is in this area. First of all, we do not abut Singing River. We are over 1,000 feet as the crow flies from the nearest lot in Singing River, and we are over 2,000 feet from our easternmost boundary to the first roadway that enters their development. Singing River, I would submit to you, could not be developed as it is in today's environment. The main reason is it has no central utilities. You could not develop that development without central utilities today. That development has individual treatment plants on each lot which abuts the Abita River. That is simply prohibited under your rules as well as state rules. Furthermore, as Ms. Walden pointed out, she took water in this last rain event. Big Pine, if you look on the map that we have provided to you, you will see is in the floodplain. Our development avoids the floodplain. All of our lots are in the flood zone C and the higher ground. We do not encroach into the floodplain, and we do not abut the river as Singing Rivers does. Traffic and drainage. As you are well aware, and I would remind you, those are issues that are very important, but they are not relevant at tonight's hearing. Those are not zoning issues, those are planning issues. We also know that if we do get the zoning for the project, that does not give us the right to commence construction in any way. We are in a process. That process has a particular stage where drainage and traffic are paramount. At that stage with regards to traffic, we will have to have performed a traffic impact analysis that is the scope of which is determined by your staff. It is not what I say the traffic is. It is not what the opponents say the traffic is. There is a detailed engineering analysis, an objective analysis that will tell us all what the traffic is and what impact our development will have on that. Is that an important issue and a legitimate concern of the residents? Yes, but we are not at that stage yet. I would also remind you that with regards to that traffic study, if turning lanes are required, as the nice lady suggested that we should have, then your ordinance require us to put those turning lanes out in front of our development at our cost. That is over and above the roughly $148,000 of traffic impact fees that we would be paying if this project is approved.
Time, Mr. Morrell.
We'll wrap it up.
I'll wrap it up. So the same for drainage applies. There is a time and place, but the density is less than the vast majority of the property along Harrison. Your staff has looked at this project, has recommended approval. Your zoning commission has reviewed this project at a public hearing and unanimously recommended approval to you this evening, and we would urge you to pass the ordinance.
Thank you, sir. Okay, bring it back to the council. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Belisario.
I have a question for Paul. I'm very familiar with this area because I use Dog Pond Road as a shortcut from 59 to 190 to go into Covington. Where you're putting the turning lane, how long is that going to be? Because the area that I see most where they are speeding is where you go through the S-curve area there. And that's, you know, as soon as you come to the end of your property, then that's when it dips down and then turns again. So where would your turning lane be?
Well, one, the traffic study would have to dictate if a turning lane is required and then the location. But to give you a sense, if you will look at our plan, most likely if they are required, they would be required at our entrances. So that will give you a sense of where they likely would be located.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Mr. Sharp?
Mr. Chairman, we have had numerous meetings regarding this subdivision development. We've talked about these issues at length. Since our last meeting, knowing that we need to put this to rest, I've talked with engineering, I've talked with Public Works as late as this afternoon, talked with Ms. Brister at length about Harrison Avenue. Setting this subdivision aside, if it was not even planned, we still must address Harrison Avenue and the situation there. If this subdivision is approved, will it increase traffic? over the next 3 or 4 years? Possibly so, as the subdivision begins to develop. It's not like there's going to be another 300 cars on Harrison tomorrow morning. But over time, yes. And over that time, we are obligated to make Harrison capable of handling what is there today and capable of handling what is going to be there 3 or 4 years from now. So that is the call that I have put out to the administration and to Public Works and to engineering. We are looking at Emerald Forest and that new project that is going in, and can we use that as a method of possibly tapping off or giving an alternative route to some of the traffic that is going up to Harrison and going one way or the other, now may be able to go to Emerald Forest and exit that area. So we are looking at a number of things. We're also looking at some possible traffic restrictions on Harrison Avenue, and that is being well received as well. Many things are at play, and they will be taken care of over time. And we have the time to do that because this subdivision is going to take time. It's going to take years, and Mr. Coates and Mr. Moran will tell you, we are talking about something that is going to be gradually developing over the next 5 to 7 years. So I believe that being responsible, a responsible government body, we will be able to keep up with not only traffic, but with also drainage problems. We have drainage plans, we have dedicated properties that we intend to put into play here. Even without this subdivision, we would be doing those things to try to relieve the drainage problems that are inherent in that area that possibly should have been taken care of 70, 80 years ago. But we have to deal with them now as they are. And that's what we're trying to do. I genuinely believe that drainage can be enhanced, and I genuinely believe that traffic can be managed. So I move to approve the subdivision.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second already. Any further discussion? Seeing none, vote with your lights, please.
Motion passes 12 yeas, 1 abstention, 1 absent.
Okay. The next item, ordinance calendar number 5517, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 57.4 acres from A4 to A4 in PUD, Ward 3, District 2. We've had, this is the same one, this is going from existing A4 to a PUD. Any discussion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion by Mr. Sharp, second by Mr. Thompson. Any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Okay, third item on the ordinances for adoption, ordinance calendar number 5527, ordinance to amend the 2016 operating budget amendment number 2. Motion by Mr. Tanner, seconded by Mr. Toledano. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, sir, Mr. Stefanski.
What are we splitting out the permits and inspections in this?
Yes.
Those were a combined organization before. Are we splitting them out as separate organizations now?
Correct. They are. In our 2016 budget, I believe that we had put did we have it in there? Yeah, we had permit inspections together, and so since that time, since the time that the budget was submitted, we have had an organizational change, and permits is still in the development department. However, inspections and code enforcement have been merged, and so this reflects that, that change in our organizational structure.
So we're not moving permits under planning? We're not.
Permits is, and
It's
will
under
remain
planning.
there. That is part of the one-stop shop that was established a couple years ago. And so at that time, we had moved permits and the inspection group all within development and planning. So that will remain there. We'll still have a one-stop shop. Folks will still go in, file for their permits in development and planning, and go through that process with Sydney's group. The Chief Building Officer, Kenny Wortman, will remain over the inspections of any of the permitted structures in the parish, but he will also be combining those efforts with the code enforcement group.
And so we're going to see another budget change moving code enforcement?
I'm going to defer to Leslie on that one.
Okay.
They have separate budgets because from a financial reporting perspective, they have different functions that we have to report them in. So from a budgeting perspective, we'll have a budget for permits, even though they actually report to the planning director and they're part of that development office. The budget is split in two just because the function is different.
Okay. So where does code enforcement show up then?
It's in the general fund also. Let
And
me
so-
see.
So we're combining that with inspections, which is it down below, I mean, I see it down below there, and those will be Kenny's budget for the year.
Yes.
Inspections
Okay.
and codes have.
They also have two different
You will have
budgets
two
because
budgets.
of the same thing, because of function, and also, it also has some to do with the cost allocation plan and stuff like that.
Okay, and the next question is, we've adjusted our revenues under the public health fund. We also adjusted our expenditures a lot higher. Why, what took place there?
That has to do with when the Safe Haven, which we recently sold the facility for Southeast Hospital, and after that, we took over the operation of that facility. So now we have Safe Haven, so we have two leases that we have out there that we're generating revenue from, and then we're handling the operations of the buildings that we retained.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Fourth item, ordinance calendar number 5528, ordinance to extend for 6 months the moratorium on property south of I-12, north of Highway 190, west of Highway 11, and east of Precinct S19 boundary line within unincorporated boundaries of Ward 9 in District 14.
Move to adopt, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Smith to adopt, second by Mr. Stefanczyk. Any discussion? Mr. Stefanczyk, you have your light on. Anyone else? Administration, anyone else? Okay, seeing none, vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Fifth item is ordinance calendar number 5529, ordinance to amend and reenact Parish Code street identification and traffic control signs to incorporate updated standards introduced 2/4/16. I believe we have Mr. Hernandez to speak. I need a motion. Motion by Mr. Belisario, seconded by Mr. Tanner. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Caller Hernandez. I guess I have a question regarding the implementation of these new requirements. Those of us who are very familiar with this, just to let you know, especially street name signs. The street name signs now, or requirement is for a blue background with white lettering. Now, I submit that there are probably few street name signs in the parish that meet the requirements. And I guess my question is, is there a plan for the parish to implement these new requirements, especially regarding street name signs? Because I believe that it will take many, many years, if not decades, before we implement these. I know the requirements are for the new quote-unquote subdivisions that are coming in, but the requirements also are for existing subdivisions. So there are some exceptions. I don't have the time, unfortunately, with my 2 minutes to talk about the exceptions, but I guess it doesn't have to be tonight, but I'd like someone to contact me to let me know what the plan is with regard to implementation of these requirements, in particular with street name signs.
Okay, and that's a good question. I know that they've met multiple times, and I believe that there's a kind of a phasing in of
Yes.
Ms. Campo?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Hernandez is correct. There are many, many signs out there. Our goal was to get to a consistent process. We have a process right now in place to replace the signs, but the ordinance was not in accordance with national standards. And so it will take time. We are developing that implementation, and that is under the Department of Public Works and their sign shop. And we'd be happy to discuss that with Mr. Hernandez later.
So is this ready for adoption?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. So I have a motion and a second. And so, Mr. Hernandez, you want to call? You want somebody to call him, or?
I'd be happy to get back to him.
All right. Okay, thanks. Okay, vote your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, two absent.
Item number 6, ordinance calendar number 5530, ordinance to revoke a portion of F Street right-of-way located in the Lexus Field subdivision, Ward 3, District 2. Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Lorino. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, well, I would like the record to reflect that I recuse myself from this particular item, agenda 6.
Okay, so noted. Okay, any further discussion? Vote with your lights, please.
Motion passes, 11 yeas, 1 recusal, 2 absent.
Okay, 7th item, ordinance calendar number 5531, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 27,565 square feet from CB1 to NC4, Ward 4, District 4.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Before we move to adopt, I'd just like to say a couple of things about this.
Go right ahead.
That area, a lot of my constituents in the area and I realize that we're having more and more traffic problems, getting in and out areas, so forth and so on. And it's going to come to a time and a place where the parish and we're going to look at that, but we just can't continue to have these. I'm going to move to adopt, but I just want to go on the record that it's something that my constituents and I are going to look at very closely moving forward.
All right. Okay, any further discussion? All right. I'm sorry. Oh, I don't have a second? All right, I have a motion. I thought I had, yeah, Mr. Thompson, then, oh, okay. All right. All right. Vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Okay, number 8, ordinance calendar 5532, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 19.25 acres from A2 to AT1, Ward 8, District 9.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Belisario, second by Mr. Stefanczyk. Any further discussion, or any discussion? Okay, seeing none, vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Okay, next item is ordinance calendar number 5533, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 18.46 acres from A1 to AT1, Ward 9, District 9.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Mr. Belisario, second by Mr. Smith. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
10th item is ordinance calendar number 5534, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 7.416 acres from A3 to A3 and mobile home overlay, Ward 6, District 11.
Moved.
Okay, who did, Mr. Stefanski made the motion, seconded by Mr. Belisario. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, 11th item, ordinance calendar number 5537, ordinance to correct the road and drainage inventory, Wards 6 and 8, Districts 6 and 9. Do I have a motion? I have a motion by Mr. Toledano, second by Mr. Belisario. Any discussion? Okay, all right, seeing none, vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay. Ordinance calendar number 5538, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 2 acres from A1A to A2, Ward 10, District 2.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Sharp, second by Mr. Thompson. Any discussion? Okay, don't see any. Vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, ordinance calendar number 5539, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify .15 acres from PBC 1 to HC 3, Ward 1, District 1. Motion by Mr. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Lorino. Any discussion? Okay, I don't see any. Let's vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, we're to the end of our ordinances. Now we're to the appointments. There's so many appointments now because it's the beginning of the year. First one, resolution to appoint, reappoint members of the Board of Commissioners for St. Tammany Fire Protection, District 4. Miss, we have O'Brien on here, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm one of them.
I'm sorry?
I said so moved for the appointment.
Okay. Motion by Ms. O'Brien for the current member requesting reappointment, David Lindsay. Have a motion, second. Mr. Lorino, any discussion? Can we vote this in, or is it got to? Yeah, okay. All right. Seeing none, vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Okay, next item is resolution to appoint, reappoint members to the Board of Commissioners for St. Tammany Fire Protection District 5. Mr. Thompson, current member, requesting appointment, reappointment, Alvin Roussel. Motion by Mr. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Lorino. Any discussion? All right, vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Third item, resolution to appoint or reappoint members of the Board of Commissioners for St. Tammany Fire Protection District 11. Current member requesting reappointment, Floyd Trasher. Mr. Belisario.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Belisario, second by Mr. Canulet. Any discussion? Vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
All right. Resolution to appoint or reappoint members to the Board of Commissioners for St. Tammany Fire Protection, number 13. Current members requesting reappointment, George Osborne, Robert Funkyberta, is it Jorge Fernandez, Louis Chopin, Cusacks, Ph.D. Okay, motion by Mr. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Toledano. Any discussion? All right, vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Okay, resolution to...
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
We have 12 people here. I don't know where we're getting 3 absent.
Because you just came back, Mr. Stefanski, I apologize.
I think I was here for the last 2 motions.
Not according to the display.
Jeez, well, somewhere. Thank you for your involvement. The little red and green and yellow lights. All right. Let the record show Mr. Stefanczyk is in the room. Resolution to appoint, reappoint members to the Board of Commissioners for St. Tammany Recreation District Number 12. Current members requesting reappointment: Willie Richardson, Antoine Brumfield, Peter Canizero, and James Rogers. Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Lorino. Any discussion? Vote with your lights, please. I'm sorry.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
All right. Next item, resolution to appoint or reappoint members to the Board of Commissioners for St. Tammany Drainage District Number 5. Current member Bob Blanchard has resigned. Mr. Larry Abney has requested appointment. Mr. Bender's not in. Is anyone going to? Motion by Mr. Canulet and second by Mr. Belisario. Any discussion? All right, vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
All right, resolution to appoint or reappoint members to the Board of the St. Tammany Development District. Current member Keith Baker has resigned. Mr. Edwin Canton has requested reappointment, or has a requested appointment. Mr. Belisario.
This is a parish-wide appointment, so it'll be deferred to next month, and we can see if anybody else is interested in applying for the position, because the vote would be next month.
Okay.
So the motion is what?
It's to defer to next month since it's a
Okay.
parish-wide appointment.
So a motion to defer, Mr.
Yes.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dean. I think it would be appropriate for the minutes to reflect the nomination of the gentleman, and then by motion and second, and then have it lay over to next month for the actual vote.
All right.
Okay,
I
so-
nominate Ed Canton for the Development District appointment.
Okay, so we have a motion of Mr. Ed Canton for appointment and to lay over. Can we do that in the same motion? Okay, all right. All right. So do we need to vote on it? No. No, okay, thanks. All right, let's see. Eighth item, resolution to appoint, reappoint members to the Board of Commissioners for St. Tammany Rec District 14. Mr. Thompson is going to nominate Mr. Paul Melanson in place of Mr., I'm sorry. Yeah. Mr. Paul Melanson resigned. Mr. A.J. Davis has requested appointment. Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Lorino. Any discussion? Vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, resolution to appoint or reappoint members to the Board of Commissioners for Mosquito Abatement District. Current member, Mr. William Hathaway, has resigned. Dr. Andrew Anglade has requested appointment. Mr. Stefanczyk.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would also like to nominate Dr. Peter Jerome, and Anthony Alford, and Eugene Garcia as the other three members that we would appoint. These are existing members on the board, and this is a specialized group of people that have a background in mosquito abatement, and would
Okay.
like to see them continue on.
All right, I got a
I'll second.
motion by Mr. Stefanczyk, second by Mr. Belisario. Any discussion? You want to suspend the rules? and
Mr.
adopt?
Chairman, I would move to close the nominations.
Okay. Motion to close the nominations. Second by Mr.
Second. We need to
Thompson.
vote on that, and then I want to suspend the rules.
Okay. Vote with your lights to close nominations.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, go ahead and
Now I'd
make your
like
motion.
to move to suspend the rules to appoint these people tonight.
Okay. Had a motion by Mr. Stefanczyk, second by Mr. Groby. Mr. Tanner?
Just for a point of information, are we changing these, it's just one person is all we're changing?
That's the only one we're changing is the one because Bill Hathaway resigned.
Yes, that's what I needed to know, thank you.
Yep. Now, Ms. Brister will have her appointment. but
Okay. Any other question? Lower your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
All right. Next item, resolution to appoint or reappoint members to the Board of Commissioners for St. Tammany Rec District 4. Current members, Joseph Allen, Paul Leary, and Evelyn Steinauer. Terms have expired. Mr. John W. Dusoy, Joseph, help me out here, Juhas, Garen Narcisse, and Anthony Thomas have requested appointment. And have some speaker cards, but I need a motion. Motion by Mr. Groby,
Second.
second by Mr. Canulet.
Yes, I also have some nominations also.
Okay. So do all these people want to speak?
How many you got?
I got a bunch. I got,
we need to take the nominations first.
All right. I have Michelle Cusimano, Beth Turkin, Randy Kramer, Antoinette Wright, Devon Palmer, and Jackie Snyder. Here's, give that to Teresa. That's all the information with all that. Thank you.
okay. So we have 10 or so. Motion to close the nomination by Mr. Groby. You want to second it? Mr. Canulet?
Mr. Chairman,
Down to the end.
Yes, sir.
just as a point of clarification for those who may be getting ready to get up and speak, you may want to explain what Mr. Canulet just did so that everybody can understand how that factors into their discussion.
Okay. Mr. Canulet, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just defer to Mike. Mike's got a plan, so this is just all the people that's going to get a chance to participate.
Thank you, Mr. Canulet. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to postpone for 2 months the appointment to Recreation District Number 4 and to form a study group to determine what is in the best interest of the children of Lacombe. The study group will be made up of 9 members to include the councilman from Districts 4, 5, 7, 14, 2 members from the slate of candidates proposed by councilman from District 7, 2 members from the slate of candidates proposed by the Lacombe Citizens Group, and 1 member of the Board of Recreation District Number 1.
Okay. Currently, I got a motion on the floor already. I have to get a vote on to close nominations.
Let's vote on that first.
Okay, so any discussion, any further discussion on that? Okay, let's vote on the, to close nominations. To close nominations? No. That's the one that's open right now. Hang on just 2 seconds. Right. That's correct. Canulet made the nomination, Groby second.
Mr. Belisario, Ms. O'Brien. Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, now, Mr. Loreno has suggested that we postpone tonight second to our, for 2 months, second to, a secondary to our, have a meeting. Yes, sir. Tell us who you are and where you live, please.
My name is John Dusoy. I live at 28375 Vincent Road in Lacombe. I just wanted to speak to you about the committee that you're putting together. I want to tell you that I strenuously object to Recreation District 1 being anywhere around there. My experience with Recreation District 1 does not want anything to do with Lacombe. When I first took over the Lacombe Youth Athletic Association, we were ostracized by every playground and district in St. Tammany Parish. I went to Recreation District Number 1 and asked them to take us, and they said they didn't want anything to do with us. Also, too, I don't know since reapportionment if this is true or not, but I know that when Recreation District Number 1 was first formed, They entered an agreement with the parish president not to allow Lacombe to appoint a member on their board. And we were entitled to one seat on that board. Now, I have to check on reapportionment if that's still true. But I insured Recreation District for about 10 years. And I know what I tell you is true. They should not be on this board. Pick somebody else. Pick Pearl River, pick Folsom, pick anybody. Not Recreation District 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
John? I'd like to respond and say a couple of things. First of all, this study group is going to be put in place to do something for the kids and the kids alone of Lacombe. And it's in place because we have a dysfunctional system now, and we also have 2 fractions in Lacombe. And in the middle of those 2 fractions are the kids of Lacombe. And me as a councilman, I believe strongly in the Recreation District. I have a grandson that has come up through Coquille, and I want the kids of Lacombe to have the same advantage as he has. Now let's get to District Number 1. I would not have made a motion if I did not talk to people in District 1. They are all in favor of sitting down and trying to help us with this. I'm not interested in what happened 10 years ago. I'm not interested in what happened yesterday. I'm interested in moving this issue forward and doing the best thing for the kids of Lacombe today. Thank you.
Mr. Lorino, I appreciate that. I really do, because I was involved with the Lacombe Youth Athletic Association. I was president of this very Recreation District Board. I understand that it is important for the children of Lacombe to be able to play, learn, and to advance in everything that they do.
Mr. Dusoy?
But
thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
You've had your say. Thank you, sir. All right. Anything else? Okay. Any further discussion? I have 3 other cards. Does anyone else want to speak? Because it's going to be postponed and it's going to be discussed at this work group. All right. I'm not begging you. I'm just seeing if somebody wants to.
Thank
I
you.
waited too long. I hung it out there too long.
I'm Jackie Schneider. I live at 26545 Mildred in Lacombe. I thank you, Mr. Lorino. It is vitally necessary that we have this study group. We have been divided for the past 4 years because of the board that it now exists with the Recreation District. So I thank you for that, and I ask you please to vote for this so that we can resurrect the rec district that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Okay, let's vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Okay, let's see. Next item is resolution to appoint and reappoint members to the St. Tammany Planning Commission and the St. Tammany Zoning Commission. All terms expired 12/31/15. So how we're going to do? You want to, or you just want to?
Thing. Since the time that our agenda was published, I've been contacted by Mr. Bill Matthews, who, with thanks, declined the opportunity to be reappointed. He made that announcement at the Planning and Zoning Committee the other night, and I certainly would like the record reflect that we do appreciate the 12 years of service he gave to the Planning and Zoning, but his name has now been withdrawn.
Okay. And since there are 9 members, I will read them aloud. Since there are 9 members on the committee and there are 9 members nominated, I'll read their name and I'll see if there's any further nominations. We'll go forward from there. Let's see. Nominations: Mr. Lauren, Ray Bernie Willie, Jimmy Davis, Martha Casabon, Kirk Drum, David Daugherty, Wendell Richardson, Rhonda Randolph, and Patrick Wadsworth. And they said Mr. Matthews has resigned. So
I move that that slate be accepted by acclamation. There
Are
be
you-
no other nominations.
are you making a motion for the
Yes.
nomination to be closed?
Yes, thank you very
Okay.
much.
Okay, I got a motion by Mr. Toledano and to close the nominations, and second by Mr. Lorino. Any further discussion? All right, let's vote with your lights. Make it clear.
What's that?
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay,
Mr.
so
Chairman.
now, yes, sir.
I would move that we suspend the rules and appoint them tonight.
All right,
Since
we have
they
a
can
motion by
convene.
Mr. Stefanczyk to suspend the rules and adopt tonight, and seconded by Mr. Belisario. Any discussion? Vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Mr. Chair, for clarification, would that be effective for their next Tuesday meeting?
Yes. Okay. There you. All right, number 12, resolution to appoint, reappoint members to the St.
Steve, was your motion to suspend the rules and adopt, or suspend the rules?
Suspend the rules and appoint.
Thanks.
And so we voted, correct? So we can go on to the next thing. Number 12, resolution to appoint, reappoint members to the St. Tammany Board of Zoning Adjustments, 6 members to be appointed. Current members, William Ballantyne, Tim Fandle, Louis Brookter, Brian Schneider, Jesse Perry. Okay. I'm sorry. And Jesse Perry? Okay, he's the alternate. All right. Have any other nomination?
Motion that the nominations be closed.
Have a motion for nomination to be closed by Mr. Toledano, seconded by Mr. Belisario. Any discussion? Vote with your lights, please.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, it says 6 members to be appointed. We're appointing 4, I guess, or what are we doing? Because if we have 6 members to appoint, I would like to see Jesse Perry made as a member of the board rather than an alternate if we have 6.
Are there 2 others? Because as it says, appoint or reappoint the members.
Mr. Dean,
Yes, sir.
there are presently 4 regulars and 2 alternates. One of the alternates is vacant.
Okay, so that's
Okay.
where the 6 is.
That's the
Okay.
6th one, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we are appointing 4 of them and 1 alternate, correct? All right. Any discussion? Do we have a motion? Yeah, we got that one? Okay. Motion to close nominations? All right. Vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay. Now, do we have a motion to suspend the rules?
Motion to suspend the rules and appoint.
Motion by Mr. Stefanczyk, second by Mr. Belisario to suspend the rules and appoint. Any discussion? All right. Vote with your lights.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, that's it for the appointments. We have discussion and other matters. Do I need to read? I got to read the whole thing. All right. Pursuant to LARS 4219.1, notice of consideration of action regarding ad valorem tax. Notice is hereby given that Road Lighting District 17 of the Parish of St. Tammany, State of Louisiana, will meet on Thursday, April 7th at 6 p.m. at the St. Tammany Government Complex, 21490 Coop Drive, Mandeville, Louisiana, at which time there will be consideration of action regarding the renewal of the levy and collection of an existing ad valorem tax dedicated to paying utility charges for road lighting and maintaining and operating road lighting facilities and equipment within the district. This action is contingent upon favorable passage of the proposition at the election on March 5th, 2016. Wait, say again?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it's not a renewal, it's a new. we
Okay,
need
so
to
are you making a motion to
Amend,
accept as, and amend that
amend
one?
it, because it's a new district.
Instead of a renewal, it's a new district,
That's correct.
correct?
Second.
All right. Do we have to go on the amendment first? Okay. So we have a motion by Mr. Mr. Belisario, I'm sorry, Canulet, second by Belisario, on the amendment from from renewal to new. Any discussion? Vote your lights. I know it.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, now do I have a motion to accept? Motion to accept by Mr. Belisario, second by Mr. Canulet. Any discussion? Vote with your lights, please.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay, now we're to the items off the floor. Do I have a motion to open items off the floor? Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Canulet, to open the items off the floor. Remember, it's got to be unanimous. Vote with your lights, please.
Mr. Tanner, Mr. Smith. Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay. First item, ordinance authorizing the parish president to purchase, expropriate, or otherwise acquire certain parcels for the St. Tammany Parish Fishing Pier, Ward 9, District 13. Motion by Mr. Belisario. I'm sorry.
I think the motion's by Ms. Blanchard.
All right. Motion by Ms. Blanchard. Second by Mr. Stefanczyk. It's introduction only. Thank you all. Second one, motion to refer to zoning commission.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Can we go back to that off-the-floor matter? Number one, I believe since the sheriff sales on March 14th, we respectfully request that we suspend the rules and adopt.
Okay. All right.
And I'll be happy to make that motion.
All right. So I have a motion by Ms. Blanchard to suspend the rules and adopt. Who seconded it? Mr. Belisario. Any discussion? All right. Vote with your lights, please.
Mr. Smith? Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Second item on off the floor,
Thank you.
motion to refer to zoning commission for recommendations on the proposed rezoning of Lot 1 Honeysuckle Estate subdivision from A1 to A1 and mobile home overlay, Ward 2, District 6. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Tanner. Do I have a second by Mr. Toledano? Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you. Caller Hernandez. I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to try to read these two off-the-floor items online, but if you tried to, I would venture to say that it was impossible to read the attachments on there. They were just literally, I could not read them. Anyway, the reason that, of course, I'm speaking to this is the fact that I was trying to determine, and normally with the attachments, you do get to determine the number of acres that we're talking about for this. A1, of course, we're talking usually a minimum of 5 acres. So it could be more. There are some exceptions. It could be less. So but what I wanted to point out to you is you're about to waive the fees for what I believe to be in the order of $575, and that's based on a 5-acre minimum. and I could be mistaken on that. I could not read the attachments that were on there, and I would venture to say that I think no one else could read the attachments that I tried to. But thank you very much.
Carlos,
Yes.
if you have problems with our stuff, please call us and let us know so we can fix it.
Okay, I'll try to
Okay.
do that, but normally, let me just tell you, normally, the off the I was about to say off the wall, off the floor items is normally, I mean, I don't get to see those until late in the afternoon. I'm talking 3, 4 o'clock. So, I mean, there's literally very little time for those of us who, you know, to look at that and get that. So
Is it too small? Is that what you're saying?
let's just say it's very fuzzy. It's very fuzzy, and I mean, those of us who have read these things many times could make out probably 80% of the stuff because we know what they're supposed to say. But some of the stuff was just illegible to me.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Dean, if I could just make a comment very briefly. I'm looking at the off-the-floor agenda on the parish website right now, and I see absolutely no difficulty in viewing it at all. The only exception to that might be a photocopy of a record of ownership from the clerk of court's office, which, you know, that may be dependent on the quality of that image. I think that it is commendable for parish government to have the off-the-floor agenda on the public website before the meeting even is held, where traditionally off-the-floor items are brought. So for Mr. Hernandez to criticize what I consider the parish going above and beyond in giving the public due notice as much as possible prior to the meeting is really unwarranted.
All right. Very good point. Okay.
And Chairman, I would
Yes,
just
ma'am.
say but we would strive to provide these copies at any time that somebody should request if they cannot see them. And I'm sure that our clerk would be more than happy to assist with that.
All right. Okay. All right, so I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Vote with your lights, please. Okay,
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
all right, before we close, any other items off the floor? Mr. Sharp, Mr. Thompson, Loreno, Toledano, all right, Tanner, Mr. Groby? No. Canulet, Belisario, Ms. O'Brien, Mr. Stefanczyk, Ms. Blanchard, and Mr. Smith.
Move to adjourn.
All right, sound good.